Right, hello everyone, and welcome to the P Carroll Sport Podcast. Paul Carroll here, and delighted to be here for another podcast. And we're going to be here for another 2 weeks at the very least, because Tipperary have beaten Galway in the All Ireland Senior Hurling quarter final. Full time score 128 to 217. That was, of course, last night in the Gaelic grounds. As I'm recording, we're about 20 past 11 on Sunday morning. And over the course of this next podcast, however long it goes, half an hour, 45 minutes. We're going to talk about the game itself. I'll go down through the Tipperary performances. We'll look ahead to the All Ireland semi final now against Kilkenny in 2 weeks' time. We'll also mention and talk about Dublin's win over Limerick. Just an incredible day yesterday. I must switch my camera around here if you're watching on the stream. We're going to go through all that. Dublin's win over Limerick, that was just an incredible shock. We're going to look back on some of the clips of the game as well that I just picked out. And as always, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, all free here on YouTube and on Spotify, and give us a like as well. It helps the channel out. If we could get to maybe, I don't know, 75 likes, let's throw that number out there randomly. That'd be good. I think we're about 450 something in the subscriber count, so eking our way towards 500. So we'll try work our way up to that maybe before the All Ireland semi-final. But let's run down through the game. I suppose overall view of the game, Tipperary against Galway. Tip were much better. Galway were poor enough. Out of their 217, only 2-6 of that was from play. The goal at the end was with the last puck of the game. You can pretty much put Galway down for scoring 1-6 in 74 minutes of hurling, which from play. Now Tipperary were ill-disciplined at times. I think Carl Mannion scored 11 frees for Galway, but 1-6, 2-6 from play, isn't really enough. Compare that to Tipperary 122 from play. So that was just a one difference there. Overall, Tip much better. I was still wary though of Galway throughout that game. I was still, because of the scar tissue of Galway beating Tipperary in 2017, 2020, 2023. And yesterday in the Gaelic grounds, the weather even, it was all very similar to 2023. But Tipperary are in a much better place than they were 2 years ago. But still, until Oisin O'Donoghue got that goal in 59 minutes or so, that was the kind of score that, for me anyway, made me think, okay, we're good here, because I think that was was that a 12-point lead or something when that went into the back of the net. Galway failed to spark at all, really. It had a couple of goal chances early on. Tip looked kind of worryingly open at the back in the early exchanges, the first kind of half of the game, really. Kevin Cooney had a big goal chance just before half-time. Rhys Shelley pulled off a really nice save in that dive into his right, and we'll go down through, as always, we'll go down through all the individual performers after I give my overall take on the game. But that was an important save by Rhys Shelley at that time, because Galway had a couple of other occasions where they got in behind, maybe from a puck out, just got in behind the Tipperary defence and a hand pass was loose, or Brian O'Mara got a block in, or I think Brian O'Mara actually robbed one from Kevin Cooney, just kind of over his shoulder, pulled the ball away from him after a Brian O'Mara mistake, playing a loose ball out from defence. So that was a worry for Tip in the first half. But in fairness, they made one change at half time, but the second half, I think they must have just changed the structure around a little bit, because there was very little of Galway breaking in behind. But overall, absolutely delighted. 6 years since Tipperary supporters have got to go up the M7 for a championship game in Croke Park. And that was the 2019 All Ireland final against Kilkenny, and it's going to be Kilkenny again in 2 weeks' time, July the 6th, Sunday at 4 o'clock. And it's just such a good buzz now. And I think everyone would have been expecting Tip were going to be playing Cork. I think everyone was expecting Limerick to beat Dublin, but that's just the way the game goes. Dublin pulled off maybe the biggest upset in hurling history. That might be a bit of a shove, but I think before the game, Dublin were 12-1 in the betting markets. Limerick were 1-25. I can't find any I had a quick look this morning to see what the live betting would have went to when Chris Crummey got the red card for Dublin in the 14th or 15th minute. I'd imagine, they would have drifted out further, maybe towards 20-1 or so, I'd imagine. So what a win for Dublin that was. But we will get to that. But we're going to start this podcast, as always, talking about Tipperary. If you're new to this channel, whatever, I'm commentating on Tip FM on the games. So I have this podcast all through the year, going through the Tip games and the Tip Club Championship in the hurling. So this is our longest run of the podcast anyway in the intercounty season, that's for sure. And yeah, we get to look forward to an All Ireland semi final against Kilkenny. I'll give my thoughts on that towards the end of the game. But let me know what you thought of this performance in general for Tipperary. Comment section below. If you're on Spotify, there's comments there too. I read them all. And yeah, follow me on Twitter is at pcarrollsport if you're new around here as well. But let's go through the game itself. Tip led 16 points to 11 at half time. And it was a kind of unspectacular first half in a way. When we were commentating on it, it felt like it went fairly quick. Jason Ford really, really good in the first half, particularly for Tipperary. He scored probably 3 or 4 points from play in that first half, scored a really nice sideline as well. John McGrath got 3 points in that first half. He was motoring well. And throughout the game, Jake Morris and Andrew Ormond, I thought, were really, really good. So yeah, it was first half, as I said, that Tip were scoring well, but looking a bit open at the back, albeit they only conceded 11 points in that first half. But Galway had the breeze in the second half. Was it a substantial breeze? It was a breeze, like it wasn't a gale or a real strong wind, but it was definitely a breeze that Tip had in the first half, Galway had in the second half. But Galway just didn't make it count whatsoever. Their goal came early in the second half, and that was from Colin Malloy, who was really, I thought, really dangerous, really kind of nippy, low to the ground, quick player, was causing a lot of trouble, and a lot of players slipping on the ground in the Gaelic grounds. There was a lot of rain and showers just kind of throughout the afternoon in Limerick yesterday, and the hard ground and greasy conditions, an awful lot of players were slipping. Like, I think every time nearly Conor Whelan got the ball, he was slipping over. Robert Doyle slipped a few times, but I suppose a lot of those are kind of forced by the quick kind of movement of Colin Malloy. He got in behind for that goal. It was unlucky from Robert Doyle that he did slip. Colin Malloy got in behind, running down the end line, and in fairness to him, picked off a really nice finish. Rhys Shelley positioned fairly well, maybe took a half step too far to the near post, let's say, if you're going to be extremely critical of Rhys Shelley. But it was one of those ones that just kind of went in beside him. It's one of those ones you just have to try and get your body in the way. And Colin Malloy, in fairness to him, managed to avoid Rhys Shelley's body and put it right into the corner from an angle. There was a similar chance later in the game where I think Rhys Shelley or one of the defenders kind of got out and blocked the shot. Owen Connolly made an unbelievable stop. I can't think of who was running through on goals for Galway. They were shooting for the top corner kind of late on, and Rhys Shelley was diving to his left and Owen Connolly came flying behind him. And you couldn't really see it in real time who got the touch. It went out for a 65. I think it was Owen Connolly, just judging on where the ball went, the trajectory of the ball. So Owen Connolly was very good, and good to see him back as well. But as the game played out, Tip were kind of eking away, getting a point ahead of Galway, another point. You know, Derek Fahy, in fairness to him in the Galway goals, made some great saves. Made a brilliant save from Jake Morris in the second half and kind of had to double up and stop Dara Stakelum from kicking it into the back of the net. But he did, I feel, like his puck outs were really good, but then I felt like he gave a few to Tip as well. Like he pucked one straight out to Andy Ormond, and straight away then he pucked another one out to the centre back who got caught in possession, and that was the Jake Morris chance then for the goal that Dara Stakelum tried to follow up, and then Willie Connors ended up scoring a point from that play for a finish. So there was a few ones from Derek Fahy I thought was, he just kind of gifted a couple to Tipperary in the first half as well, and in the second half in that period in particular. But his puck outs as well were very effective, so it kind of mixed the good and the bad in that sense. But yeah, Tipperary definitely looked a lot very loose in that first half, but tightened up in the second half and got a really good impact from the bench. We'll talk about all those players as well, but as I make it down in front of me, Tip scored 1-3 from the bench, and that goal was the key. It was Oisin O'Donoghue, about 59 minutes. Just what a goal it is. I think a new feature in the podcast this week. Is this breaking copyright rules? I don't think so, because this is RT's footage and RT is there. I think this falls under fair use, but I just have the clip of the goal that I'll talk through here. So that was the save by Derek Fahy from the Jake Morris chance. Now, Rhys Shelley out to Willie Connors. Willie takes a touch and just a lovely pass. Like, we were right on top of this. And then Noel McGrath, you could put that ball over the bar all day if you wanted to. Instead, he plays a perfect ball out to Oisin O'Donoghue, and he's coming out the goals and just leathers it low past the goalkeeper. But the ball put in by Noel McGrath was perfect because Dahi Burke, couldn't commit there because it was 1v1, so he lets him get it, and Oisin O'Donoghue was just kind of a little bit too lively for Dahi Burke, who was sitting too far off him maybe, and Oisin O'Donoghue low past the goalkeeper. And what I love about it as well is how happy Oisin O'Donoghue is when he scores it. I'm not sure if you could see it on that clip there, but when he scores the goal, he's like absolutely buzzing, running away, and why wouldn't you be? So this is where we were actually, right up here on this picture where the mouse is for the game. So we had a great view, albeit the only thing in the Gaelic grounds is we're here, and you can see these kind of beams coming out from the stand holding up the gantry, and they're like really in the way. But I'm not really gonna complain about the view up there. Is very good, and it's a privilege to be up there, that's for sure. But yeah, Oisin O'Donoghue absolutely delight, and you can see Andy Ormond and Sam O'Farrell running over to him to celebrate. So those are little things that just kind of show you that the squad is in a really good, happy, healthy place. Even when Willie Connors was coming off, Seamus Kennedy gave him a big G up when he was coming onto the field. So yeah, the squad seems to be in a good place, a happy place, and they're on the road to Croke Park, which is just so exciting. Can't wait for that game. Like, just the next 2 weeks, I don't know, will it fly by or will it feel like a long time, because the anticipation will be building up for that game. Tickets go on sale on Monday at 2 o'clock. So by the time you're listening to this, it could be Sunday evening, it could be Monday morning, but 2 o'clock on Sunday is when the tickets for the All-Ireland semi-final are going on sale. Sunday, July the 6th at 4 p.m. in Croke Park. Could be a double header with the Tipperary Camogie team if they beat Clare next weekend, which they'll be kind of favourites to do so. But it's not a given. But if they do beat Clare, they'll play Kilkenny in an All-Ireland quarter-final, and that would be played before the Tip Kilkenny senior hurling semi-final as well. So that could be a really kind of special occasion up in Croke Park in 2 weeks' time if the Tip senior Camogie team can get there. So yeah, that's something to really, really look forward to now in 2 weeks' time. Can't wait. Had a quick look at hotel prices in Dublin, and it's just it's kind of scandalous how much they are. But we'll see what we'll do, because it would be a good, go up and see the Cork Dublin match on the Saturday evening, stay up for the night, and be ready then for the Tip game on the Sunday. But that's all to be ironed out in the next few weeks. I'll also do a bit of giving out about ticket prices in a few minutes. Why not do it now? So there's 16,000 at the game in the Gaelic grounds. It's kind of a poor crowd now. I will say the Tip supporter is really good, and that's not me just being a Tipperary supporter myself, but like it was 80% Tipperary supporters, I would say, which is really good. But like 15,000 in the Gaelic grounds, for an All-Ireland quarter-final between Tip and Galway isn't a hectic crowd. And I think a big reason for that, in my opinion, is the ticket prices. Like 40 quid for that game to be sitting in the stand, 35 for the terrace. Like, I don't know, as far as I know, that the double header of games between Dublin and Limerick in the hurling and Dublin and Cork in the football in Croke Park, I believe, was 40 quid as well. So I don't know what the GAA are doing with these ticket prices, because we all want games to be packed out stadiums, full of atmosphere, full of life. And supporters of Galway and Tipperary, this isn't their first championship game of the year. Like, they've been to 4 or 5 championship games at this stage, put down the guts of nearly 200 quid probably to go to all of the games so far. And then for one standalone game, you're throwing 40 quid at them. You can see why there was a poor crowd, 15,000, because that's just too much. I don't know what the GAA are doing. Like, it's not a business. It shouldn't be seen as a business. It shouldn't be seen as trying to squeeze every euro you can out of the supporters. The GAA is what the slogan they have is where we all belong, but that doesn't feel like that when you're trying to charge 40 quid for a standalone game. Now, I know people will say, look at the Lions the other day, and 190 quid for the Lions match up in the Aviva on Friday night, and some of the other games, the NFL that's happening and all that. But those are standalone fixtures that aren't played every weekend, and those are professional sports, and if people want to pay that, fair enough. But the GAA is about community and is about looking after one another, you would think. And 40 quid, I thought, if you had 25 quid for a stand ticket there, 20 quid for the terrace or whatever, I'd guarantee you would have had maybe 10,000 extra people there, in my opinion, I think. But people would look at 40 quid and say, what, the game is on telly, I'll watch the first game on telly at home, watch the Tip match on telly, and if they get to Croke Park, maybe I'll go then. So that is a part of it as well. But I think the GA really need to look at the ticket pricing issue as well, and we'll see what the pricing is for the All Ireland semi final. But I'd imagine I'll be giving out about that as well. But anyway, back to the game now. We'll go down through the players one by one from a Tipperary point of view, and I'll give my thoughts. So Reece Shelley in goals. I thought he was really, really good. Made that big save just before half time from Kevin Cooney, and it was a good shot from Kevin Cooney, and it was to the right hand side of Reece Shelley, and he holds his hurley, you know, with the boss of the hurley on his left, so he had to switch sides. Now it was at a nice height for him, but it was a really, really good save from Reece Shelley. His puck outs though were really good, because a worry for me before the game was just looking at the Tip team, thinking, who are the kind of ball winners there? Do you know, in the past you'd have someone where you could just lump a ball down on top of him, but that is not kind of Reece Shelley's style. I don't think it's the style of this Tipperary team. Reece is a very kind of lower trajectory on his puck outs. He doesn't kind of launch many of them too high. Now he can do that as well. He's able to mix it up really well, especially with the 1-2 short puck outs. He likes to go long after some of them. But some of the ones he kind of drills out to the middle of the field are really, really good. I think the best puck out he hit all day was straight after the Galway goal. Reece goes long with the puck out right under the Mackey stand to the far kind of 45, and Andy Ormond rises above Gavin Lee, snaps the ball, runs down the sideline and puts it over the bar. It's an unbelievable score, and it was a Reece Shelley like pinpoint puck out. He also had a really good one to Willie Connors in the middle of the field in the second half. Willie just had to knock it down to himself, but it set up a score real quickly for Tipperary. And for the goal itself, you know, Reece played it out to Willie Connors as we showed, and then Willie with just a brilliant vision and ball across the field to Noel McGrath. And we've already spoken about the rest. So Reece Shelley, he stopped a 21-yard free from Carl Mannion as well late on in that game. Made a few key kind of saves. Really good puck outs. Very happy with how Reece Shelley performed. Robert Doyle, I thought, got into the game. He could have had a goal actually, Robert Doyle, right before half time, if you remember, with Darren McCarthy running down towards the kind of city end terrace. Probably had a chance to knock it over the bar if he wants, but he's a really unselfish player, Darren McCarthy, and he tried to just play like kind of a 10-yard stick pass into the hand of Robert Doyle, Darren McCarthy was kind of on the end line, and Robert Doyle was running down from the 14 towards the goals, and it was just probably an inch or two over his head. If that was a catchable ball for Robert Doyle, you know, he would have been in on goal and likely put it into the back of the net. But all in all, I thought he struggled a little bit on Colin Malloy. Now, Colin Malloy only scored the goal. That was all he scored. But I thought Robert Doyle done really well. He was kind of in and out as well, because he was on Colin Mannion for a time, but Tipperary kind of switched that around. Colin Mannion only got 2 points from play. One of them was an unreal strike halfway between the 265s, where he just kind of got it, looked over his left shoulder, and then just swung it over his right and over the bar. He's a real nice striker, the ball, Colin Mannion. But Robert Doyle, I thought he got some really good blocks towards the end as well. He got remember the ball dropped for a Galway fella inside the 14, he leathered it, and Robert Doyle was there, came off his body and out for a 65. He had a couple of those ones, Robert Doyle. So while he was caught just slipping for the goal, literally, I thought he had a really fine game. Owen Connolly, really good to see him back as well. So strong back there for Tipperary, real pillar of the defence. He didn't score, which is, I'm trying to think, I have the sheet in front of me actually, as I'm while I'm commentating and doing my notes, I kind of have different stats in front of me. Let me just show you here. So this is just a sheet of the scores for Tipperary down through the games. Owen Connolly, he didn't score. Yeah, he didn't play against Laois, but he had scored in every other game up to that. So that's the first game he hadn't scored this year for Tipperary in the championship. But another fine game for Owen Connolly. Really good to see him back and get through the full 70 minutes. Michael Breen was kind of tasked with Conor Whelan throughout the game, and Michael Breen, he's just full speed all the time. He's full speed into everything. He's hard into every challenge. I thought he was really good. Conor Whelan, you know, he was the thorn in Tipperary's side in 2023. That day against Tip, Conor Whelan scored 1-4 from play. In the championship leading up to yesterday, Conor Whelan had only scored 1-5 in the whole championship from play. So his role has changed. He's kind of gone further out the field, but he was inside for a good part yesterday. But Michael Breen was just really well able for him. Conor Whelan did get one score, and it was a class score out on the sideline in the first half under the uncovered stand out in the 21. Really nice score that by Conor Whelan. But Michael Breen, definitely had the managing of him. And I think if you probably were to clip out my review of, let's say, Michael Breen's performance after every game, or my thoughts on Michael Breen's performance, I'd say that he was really good and he's been one of Tipperary's best players all year, and that hasn't changed after yesterday's performance. Craig Morgan, I thought, was very good as well. A memorable part of that game was I think it was a puck out went long on top of Connor Whelan, and Craig Morgan just rises above him and snaps it down and plays it away. Craig is so comfortable on the ball. His delivery into the forwards is always really, really good as well. And he's just having a really fine year back there for Tipperary. Ronan Maher, I thought, was very strong yesterday. You know, looking back at the highlights, there was a lot of times where it was Ronan coming out and playing a nice pass. Maybe hit one or two loose ones, but I think everyone has that. But he hit that. Remember that one he hit to Sam O'Farrell? It was nearly like a soccer style true ball over the top. Sam O'Farrell had kind of gone in behind Sean Lennon, and it was a lovely ball up to the far corner in behind by Ronan Maher. Lovely vision. And Sam O'Farrell got it, came back out the field, knocked it out to Jason Ford, and he put it over the bar in the first half. So that was really good from Ronan, and a strong performance from him. Brian O'Mara mixed like the really good with the bad, but the really good probably outweighed the bad. You all know I'm a big fan of Brian O'Mara. There was that time, as I mentioned, he was coming out, and I think it's because he's so much kind of talent and striking ability that, you know, a pass that might be 20% on in his head and with his ability is probably 50% on, let's say. So there's that one time he was coming out and he tried to play a ball kind of from his own 21, kind of diagonally out to the edge of the D, and it was cut out. I think Brian Concannon got something on it. He played it through to Kevin Cooney, and Tip managed to get kind of bodies back. That happened once or twice with Brian O'Mara, but he recovered nearly himself both times to win the ball back. So that's really good to see, and he's so good at hooking and blocking. I say it every podcast, but he got another really good hook. And Owen Connolly, that reminds me, Owen Connolly's hook in the second half. It was Keenan Fahy broke through, and Owen Connolly, you could see in the replay on his face, he's just so determined to get back. And it was right in front of the Mackey stand. He gets back, gets a perfect hook in, and the ball dribbles out wide. That gets the crowd going. The crowd are all just giving it after Owen Connolly does that. Then Noel McGrath steps onto the field, preparing himself to come on, and the crowd really gets up. So that was a nice moment there. But yeah, I'm happy I remember that now from Owen Connolly, because that was a brilliant piece of play from the Cashel man. Willie Connors in midfield scored a point. Really busy, I thought Willie was. Mentioned how good that pass was for the goal. He got a nice score from distance, hit maybe one or two wides, but really good performance from Willie Connors. And you know, he's been so good for Tipperary pretty much all year. And you know, when you kind of reflect on Willie Connors' career with Tipperary so far, you know, he's always been really positive for Tipperary, whatever his role is. You know, he's always had an influence, whether it's just coming off the bench to finish a job or see it out, or whether it's starting, whatever he's been asked to do. Willie Connors has always done it really well. A point yesterday, really busy performance, and yeah, just really good to see the kind of form that Willie Connors is in at the minute, and long may it continue for Tipperary for sure. Peter McGarry making his debut yesterday. You know, I'd love to be saying here that like what a performance it was from Peter McGarry, but it was just one of those situations where the game kind of just passed him by in the first half. I only remember kind of two possessions of his. One of them was Ronan flicked the ball out to him and he took a shot and it dropped short. But yeah, as I was saying kind of after the match to a couple of people, I'd imagine, you know, first of all, it was a really difficult circumstance for Peter McGarry to make your first start in an All-Ireland quarter-final against Galway. And it's not that he played bad or anything, it's just kind of the game passed him by, if you get me. We didn't see him on the ball an awful lot. And I think it's probably easy in that middle third in inter-county hurling, especially in midfield, ball kind of going over and back over your head and things like that, and you're following men and men are being passed off to you and things like that. It's easy to get lost in the sauce, I'd say. So Peter McGarry, that's his championship start. It won't be the last we've seen of Peter McGarry. I'm pretty sure of that, with his talent and, you know, by all accounts how well he's been doing in training. So it's a disappointing one for Peter McGarry, but you know, that's the first one out of the way. And you know, upwards and onwards for Peter McGarry and for Tipperary after yesterday. But he was replaced by Dara Stakelin. We'll talk about him in a few moments' time as well. But we'll move on to Jake Morris. Easily could have won man of the match. 5 points from play. Had that big goal chance that was saved. Really good. Hit a couple of wides as well, did Jake, but just real leadership from him this year. Again, a couple of times there where Galway were getting back into it. It was getting tight. He was just winning balls, sticking it over the bar, stepping inside people, using his pace and power. He put a big hit in on Conor Cooney at one stage. It was into the chest, it was probably a deserved yellow card, but like it kind of shows you how strong Jake has gone in recent years. Like we all kind of remember Jake when he was 18, 19 coming onto the squad, and he was fast, lively, but kind of slim in his build. But now he's strong, and it's not like he's too big or anything. He still has his pace and power, but that's kind of what it is. His power is what Jake Morris has now, and just what a performance from him. 5 points. We could easily be sitting here talking about Jake Morris scoring 1-7 from play. It was that kind of performance from him. Really good leadership. That one time where caught the ball in his chest at one stage was really impressive. Where under the Mackey stand, where he kind of got the ball out in front of Dahi Burke and cut inside him and drove it over the bar. I think that might have been just before. That was, what time of the game was that? I can't remember, but it was a really good score from Jake Morris. He had that one where he came from behind as the ball was dropping down on the edge of the D and snapped it, kind of dropped to the ground in front of him, got it back into his possession. He actually hit that one wide, but it was just all Jake Morris there at times for Tipperary. The man who did get man of the match, and he's making a habit of it, is Andrew Ormond. 5 points from play for him. Just one of those performances. He just knows where to be. Like, he's so lively and around the field. One of his scores was Galway coming out with the ball, kind of borderline dilly-dallying when it held up in the tackle, and Pádraig Mannion plays a pass. I think it was Pádraig Mannion across his own 45. Darren McCarthy almost gets a hurley on it. It flies past Gavin Lee, maybe another Galway player, and bang, Andrew Ormond is there, edge of the 45, over the bar it goes. He cut out one of Dark Fai's puck outs, got it over the bar, it went from him. I think maybe was there one where Galway were working it out and a hand pass was intercepted by Willie Connors. I think Andrew Ormond might have gotten the end of that one as well. So he was really, really good, as he has been. Like, what a rise it's been. Like, if I pull this sheet out again, Andrew Ormond, he came on against Cork late on in that game, or maybe not late on, but the game was kind of over when he came on, got a point. Then he starts against Clare, he scores 2-1. Then against Waterford, he gets 3 points, but was really lively in that game. Every ball that was coming to him was sticking. Against Laois, he scored 3 points and he was taken off, well early into that second half against Laois, just to kind of preserve him. And then here he is yesterday scoring 5 points from play. So, it's been a revelation for Andrew Ormond, and just speaking to him in interviews and that after the game comes across really well, which is always an extra bonus. He seems like a very solid fella, does Andrew Ormond. So another brilliant performance from him. Sam O'Farrell, number 12 yesterday, scored a point, set up a couple. He set up that one that I mentioned for Jason Ford. Sam is really busy around the field, real kind of engine in him, going up and down the field all day, really smart in possession of the ball. And another just kind of, would you call it wise, or I'm not sure what the word is, but it seems like a man with so much experience for a fella making his championship debut season, let's say. And a nice performance from Sam O'Farrell, who was replaced by Conor Stakelum. Darren McCarthy, just the 3 points for Darren McCarthy, all from frees. Missed a couple early on, difficult ones, but ones that we've seen Darren McCarthy kind of routinely knock over. But it was probably, well, I was going to say it was maybe his toughest day in a tip jersey on the field, but I'd imagine that was against Cork when he was sent off. But it was a difficult day for Darren McCarthy, but that was because I think he was been marked by Darren Morrissey from Galway, who I thought was really, really good no matter who was on him. He's a real sticky defender, Darren Morrissey, and he was one of the bright sparks for Galway. But for Darren McCarthy, we all kind of have to remember that Darren McCarthy's 19 years of age. A lot of pressure on him, straight into the senior panel, on the frees, things like that. Did knock over 3, could have set up a couple of goals. That one to Robert Doyle that we mentioned, he could have popped that over the bar himself if he wanted to, but we know the type of player Darren McCarthy is, very unselfish. But yeah, he was disappointed walking off the field, but that's all part of the learning process too. Like, you're not going to always have days where you're man of the match or leading the line, and it's all a learning experience. 19 years of age, what a season he's had so far. like if I pull out my sheet again, what has Dara scored? 32 points for Tipperary in his debut campaign so far. So difficult day from yesterday, but I've no doubt about it. When Tip need Darren McCarthy, that's usually when he's at his very best. He was replaced by his under-20 teammate Oisín O'Donoghue, who's probably about 6 months younger than him, but a year younger in the age. Like Oisín O'Donoghue is another year at under-20, and he scored that brilliant goal, and we'll talk about him in a few moments. John McGrath, 3 points in the first half, replaced by his older brother Noel in the second half. But just, John McGrath is John McGrath, so smart, always knows what to do. He has scored 412 in the championship for Tipperary. He turns 31, I think, next month. But it's just brilliant to see John McGrath return to the kind of form that we once saw with Tipperary. Then he had the injuries. Then maybe we didn't see it with Tip. Then we saw it with Lockmore again. And now we're seeing it with Tipperary again, which is just brilliant to see. And he looked like a real happy man coming off the field yesterday, did John. Jason Ford, really good performance. He is just a pure sharpshooter, like is Jason Ford. What's he get? 4 from play, scored a free, and 2 sidelines. 2 sidelines are just lovely. Like the one in front of the Mackey stand in the first half, started it at the far post, curled it in lovely. If you're over in the uncovered stand, you would have had a nice view of that second line ball he scored in the second half. That was class as well. He was on the RT panel after the game as well, came across very well, did Jason Ford. He was so smart for some of those points that he got, where it was just, the one where Sam O'Farrell in the corner that we mentioned, and he just wheels out and he's there, and it's just catch and shoot real quick, pure wrists, and he's so good to watch when he's on that kind of form. He's real. When the eye is in for Jason Ford, he's got so much talent in his wrists, with his first touch and his ball, his handling ability and his striking ability. It's all real quick and real good to watch. 7 points from him, brilliant performance from Jason Ford. So that was the Tipperary starting team. Seamus Kennedy came on for Woody Connors late on. Seamus is just so steady when he comes on. It's so good to watch in that sense, that you have someone with his experience to come in. Nothing seems too big for him. Wasn't on a heap of ball when he came on, but he's always just that kind of composed figure. Dara Stakelum came on for Peter McGarry at halftime, scored 2 points, had some real nice touches. Like we've been speaking about Dara Stakelum throughout the year. I always say how tidy of a hurler he is. That's kind of the word that comes to mind when I think Dara Stakelum. There was one point he got where I don't know how he wasn't hooked, because he kind of had it at full length, but he's managed to get the strike away and knock it over. So he was really, really good when he came on, Dara Stakelum. And this is what you need you need impact from the bench. You need scores from all over the field. And Dara Stakelum was very good when he came on. Conor Stakelum was yellow carded when he came on for Sam O'Farrell. He's just real busy, is Conor Stakelum, and he's probably a little bit overzealous in tackles at times. He's kind of in there a little bit, maybe too much, to the point of giving away a couple of fouls. He gave away one of those 21-yard frees, which Carl Mannion, I think, was that the one where I was saying it on commentary, he tried to do like the Robert Perez, Thierry Henry penalty for Arsenal about 20 years ago, where he tried to pass it instead of taking a shot, and Brian Concannon was just too close to Cathal Mannion. So, and I think Brian Concannon actually ended up getting a tap on the helmet after that, and a shoulder by Rhys Shelley as he was on the ground. So it was one of those ones for Galway. It kind of summed it up really, that it just wasn't going right for them at all. But Conor Stakelum was busy, as we said. Oisín O'Donoghue, again off the bench, making a big impact. Took the goal so well. And the contributions he had, the other ball that kind of went into him. And it's 1v1, him and Dahi Burke, like one of the best full-backs we've seen in the last decade and a half. And Oisín O'Donoghue is, 19 years of age. But it just doesn't seem to faze him at all, which is so good to see. That first ball that kind of went into him, he kind of stops it from going out wide. It was the one where Andrew Ormond caught the puck out and just kind of threw it over his shoulder and just hit it in towards the edge of the square. And Oisín O'Donoghue manages to keep it in play, gets it into his possession, and then has the composure to knock it back out the field to Noel McGrath, who put it over the bar. And then, of course, the goal for Oisín O'Donoghue. Again, it was Noel McGrath who come on for John. We may as well talk about Noel as well, because they both set each other up for their scores. Oisín O'Donoghue set Noel McGrath up for the point on the edge of the 45, and then Noel McGrath, the ball he played into Oisín O'Donoghue, I know we've watched it already, but it was just so good. And he's able to pick up these spaces, Noah McGrath. We always talk about his experience, his composure, his cool head, but the talent he has is just like the ball he played in Tushno O'Donoghue just floated it in there lovely. And even the finish on the strike, like, the pose he had for the finish with, like, the right foot back, he was kind of like a golfer there, just poking one in there, Tushno O'Donoghue, floating one in, and Ushin catched it kind of hip height on the turn, low past Derek Fahey. So yeah, that the bench had a brilliant impact for Tipperary. So that is the kind of rundown of the Tipperary performance from a Galway point of view. Colin Mannion scored 13 points, but just the two from play. I thought Colin Malloy was lively. Tom Monaghan came on and scored 2 points straight away. People could be watching Galway a lot more than me, but anytime I've seen him, he was really good against Tip 2 years ago as well. He's well able to take a score, Tom Monaghan. So maybe a peculiar one that he didn't get a little bit more game time. Just their forward line, Conor Cooney got a point. Colin Mannion, let's say from play, got 2 points in the 11 frees. Colin Malloy got the goal. Conor Whelan got a point. Brian Concannon was scoreless, and so was Kevin Cooney. Those were the only scorers for Galway, bar the subs that came on. Declan McLaughlin got a point, and Tom Monaghan's 2 points. So, it's obviously didn't score enough when they lost the game. But as we mentioned at the very start, 2-6 from play is just not good enough really from a Galway point of view in the game, again compared with Tipperary's 122. But Tip go marching on to the semi-final, first time since 2019, and it is going to be against Kilkenny. What a fixture to look forward to that is. We had that game earlier in the league where there was 4 red cards, but it didn't feel like a game that kind of spilled over or anything like that. There was just a few silly red cards and probably needless red cards in that game in Nolan Park. Remember, Alan Tynan's red card was that day. Jordan Malloy got sent off. Was it David Blanchfield maybe as well for Kilkenny that day? And there was another one as well, which is not coming to my head at the minute. But Kilkenny got 3 red cards that day. It was a real weird game. So that was the last time the sides met. The last time the sides have met in Championship was the 2019 All-Ireland. Another game where there was a memorable red card. Richie Hogan it was that day. But so many classics down through the years between Tip and Kilkenny. And we've another one to look forward to in 2 weeks' time. As I said, Sunday, July the 6th. I'm a big fan of watching that Kilkenny team. I think there's some really good hurlers, like TJ Reid is, admittedly one of my favourite players ever to watch. Owen Murphy, class goalkeeper. Hugh Lawler, the kind of form he's in. But that forward line, I'm a big fan of Massey Keown as well. I love his style of play. I'm not sure what Owen Cody's story is injury-wise. They've John Donnelly as well, a really good player. Adrian Mullen seems to be back in good form too. So, Kilkenny are very, very dangerous, more than dangerous. And Kilkenny will probably be favourites for this game, as Liam Cowell was mentioning in the post-match interviews when we were talking to him yesterday. This is a Tipperary team coming to Croke Park where a good portion of the players wouldn't have played there before. If I think back, Tip played Dublin in a league game there in 2023. But bar that, there's going to be very little experience. Rhys Shelley wouldn't have played there in a Tipperary jersey. Robert Doyle, no. Was Craig Morgan playing that day? I'd have to look back on that game against Dublin to see was he playing. But the likes of Andrew Ormond, probably not. Sam O'Farrell, no. Darren McCarthy, no. And then the subs off the bench, the likes of Oisin O'Donoghue wouldn't have played there. Conor Stakelin, probably unlikely. Has he? Not too sure. Darius Stakelin, I can't imagine he has. So, there's Peter McGarry, no. There's a large portion of players for Tipperary there that wouldn't have played in an All-Ireland semi-final for sure, and wouldn't have played in Croke Park before either. But, there is really good experience in that squad to kind of help the players through that as well. So, I just can't wait for that in 2 weeks' time. So, a reminder for what are we? We are 39 minutes into this podcast. Try and get us up to that 75 likes and get towards those 500 subscribers if you can, all free as we mentioned. So it just helps the channel grow a bit as well. So that's kind of the review of Tipperary against Galway. Absolutely, buzzing from it. Was it the best game of all time? No, but Tip won, so that's all that counts really. Really solid performance and a lot to work on as well from a Tipperary point of view. It's not kind of one of those games where tip blew Galway out of the water, and there's a big load of hype building towards the semi-final. I think there's a lot for Tipperary to improve on, a lot for Liam Cahill and the coaching team to kind of drill into the players now over the next 2 weeks. So that's always a good thing as well. And it's against the old rivals in Kilkenny, so it's just going to be a real good occasion to look forward to in 2 weeks' time. But let's have a quick word about Dublin against Limerick. I still can't really believe it, to be honest, and that's not being disrespectful to Dublin. Well, it's not meaning to be disrespectful to Dublin, but 12-1. No one really gave him a chance at all. I think if you were to pull up the audio of me talking about the game on Friday evenings across the line on Tip FM, I would have probably just said Limerick were going to win. I think that was a fair assumption. Limerick were 1-25, as I said, in the bet market. Dublin 12-1. Then, as I get to the Gaelic grounds, watching it up in the press box on my phone, see the red card. The Galway Bay FM lads are beside us as well, watching it. And I think we all kind of said to each other when Chris Crummy got sent off, that's that, I suppose. And then it was a case of, geez, Dublin are sticking around, like, they're getting a few points. And then, suddenly it's going half time and it's, what is it, 15 points to 10 at one stage. I think Limerick might have got a few points before half time, but you're thinking, geez, Dublin they're hanging in there, in fairness to them. But then, even at half time, I was thinking, look, Dublin are going to get tired, the gaps are going to open up, and, that's going to be that. Limerick will find the spaces and they'll put them away. But Dublin, like, watching that second half now, it's, I'm preparing myself to do commentary and things like that, so you're watching the game on the phone, but you're going in and out, so you're not sitting down really immersed in the game, so you're only looking over and back. But anytime I looked, it didn't seem like Limerick were comfortable in possession. There's always Dublin lads hounding them, and to do that with 14 men for as long as they did is so impressive. And really is one of the upsets of hurling modern history. Like, this is a Limerick team who'd won, coming into this year, had won 6 Munster titles in a row. They'd won 5 All-Irelands since 2018. One of the best teams of all time. I think that's fair enough to say about that Limerick squad. And Dublin were just so fiery, and there were so many good performances. I was really impressed with the two midfielders for Dublin. Where are they here? It was Conor Burke and Brian Hayes. I was trying not to mix up their surnames. Conor Burke's long range shooting yesterday was brilliant. I think he scored, 5 points maybe? Yeah, 5 points from him. And Ronan Hayes scored 3 points. Had a couple of real key defensive actions as well with hooks and blocks. And Ronan Hayes, in fairness to him, like, he's kind of a slight kind of a midfielder. I don't know what age he is, but he seems kind of young looking at him. He's not one of these kind of bulked up kind of players like Conor Burke. His midfield partner is probably a bit more bulky, but Ronan Hayes is full of running, tough, good striker of the ball. I was really impressed with him. Sean Curry with some big scores as well, but the goals were the key. 2 goals in about 60 seconds for Dublin in the second half. John Heatherton's goal was class. Running through, was it Sean Curry who popped him the pass? His back is to goals. He just catches it, throws it over his shoulder, leathers it into the top of the net. It could have come off some part of Nicky Quaid, but it was just one of those ones where you're just, again, trying to just block it with anything, body, hurley parts. You don't have time to react, really. It's too close. What a strike it was from John Heatherton, and into the top corner. The other goal then was Sean Curry, was it? It was off a long ball straight away. It broke down to Sean Curry and he finished it into the back. No, it wasn't Sean Curry. Keane Sullivan. And he finished it low past Nicky Quaid. And it was like, oh my God, this could happen. But then Limerick got it back to, was it a point again with about 2 minutes to go? And someone was saying after the match in the Gaelic grounds yesterday that at that point and in injury time, Dublin were still 2-1 in the live betting, which was just incredible. But they got 3 points on the bounce then after that, Dublin, to kind of see it out. Limerick had a point from Peter Casey to bring it back to a 3-point game, and then they had the 21-yard free from Diarmuid Burns, which was stopped and then cleared by John Heatherton. And then it was one last chance for Limerick to just lob it in, and Adam English just put too much on it. It went over the bar. But it is just an incredible result. Like, it's one that no one saw coming, bar my father. we were out for breakfast yesterday, and we were talking about the game. He's a big hurling man, and I was just telling him that, what you think of this? How do you think this game will go? And I was telling him how, like, Dublin were 12-1. He was like, Jez, I'd give them a good chance. He was like, I don't know, Jez, that's worth a tenner now. And we didn't put anything on it, but I knew when I came back from the Gaelic grounds yesterday that he would be happy out with his prediction. So he was like, no, I give him a good chance. I've seen this Dublin team now, and in fairness to him, he gave him a good chance, and they won the game. It was just unbelievable, and it sets up its semi-final between Cork and Dublin. So I'd imagine that could be close to a sellout. Like Cork will travel, we all know that, and I'd imagine Dublin will get a really good support because towards the end of that game, all the kind of Dublin football supporters would have come in to see the end of that game, and they witnessed something really, really special. So I'd imagine they'll row in behind that team for the semi-final in 2 weeks' time as well. But said I had to mention that game. Funny moment in the Gaelic grounds. I was watching it on like the Sky Go app on my phone, and I was probably a little bit behind some other people watching it, and just when it went full time, you could just hear a roar from the stand below us as if there was a goal on the field in the Gaelic grounds. People just delighted. Everyone, even looking over at the uncovered stand, you could see everyone looking into their phones, watching the match and or listening to it on the radio and things like that. So just an incredible moment. Funny that everyone let off a big roar. Not funny if you're from Limerick, I suppose, but just in general, it was a kind of coming together of the Tipperary and Galway supporters for that moment. But I think that's kind of a result you'll nearly remember where you were. It was just one of those ones that you just didn't see coming at all. But fair play to Dublin. And, like Chris Crummey's red card, he'll maybe try to get it rescinded. It was very much Richie Hogan, Carl Barrett-esque from the 2019 final. I think I have it here somewhere if we can show it. Yeah, it was just one of those ones, look, where it happens. I think when you watch it in slow motion, it looks a lot worse. When you're watching it in full speed, it doesn't look as bad. Like here it is in full motion. Grode Hegarty gets it, just steps inside, and you see him go down, and it's kind of like, okay, maybe he got a bit of a clip there. But it's the slow motion and the fact that he he just comes in like this. And, from a personal point of view, I don't know Chris Crummey at all, but just from he missed all that game, and he's going to miss an All-Ireland semi-final as well. You're kind of like, sickener for him. But like letter of the law stuff, it's into the head. He kind of had his elbow out. There's no real mitigation, really. So, it's hard to see that being rescinded, I think, anyway. Well, considering Alan Tynan's wasn't rescinded in the league when, he didn't even connect with Cian Kenny, I think it was, that day. I don't think that's going to be rescinded for Chris Crummey, unfortunately. But what a result for Dublin. So that's how that one goes. They play Cork in 2 weeks' time. And yeah, I was going to say it's the end of the road this year for Limerick. People are nearly kind of writing them off in a way. They've still got so much talent. Maybe the hunger was that their energy levels seem to be a bit down. There's going to be an inquest now into what happened from a Limerick point of view. Maybe one or two players will step away, but who knows? And they've got enough top players there for the next few years to be at the business end of championships, that's for sure. So I wouldn't be writing Limerick off just yet whatsoever, and you'd imagine the management team and all that will stay intact. So but yeah, what a result for Dublin. Brilliant result for Tipperary yesterday. And that kind of rounds off this week's edition of the podcast. Let me know your thoughts below. I'll reply to all the comments I see on the YouTube video. Same over on Spotify if you prefer watching or listening there. But yeah, if you've made it this far, one final reminder to like the video, subscribe to the channel, all free, and we'll be back for a podcast after the All-Ireland semi-final in 2 weeks' time. Reminder, tickets go on sale for that Tipperary game against Kilkenny on Monday at 2 o'clock. So be sure to get your tickets sorted, and we'll see you up in Croke Park. Tipperary back on the road to Croke Park in 2 weeks' time. Absolutely buzzing. Can't wait for it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.